Good day, everyone. For the second video in the 10 question test series, following on the first one on the ruling party, I cover the official opposition, or the so-called official opposition, the Democratic Alliance. And as an alliance, they are in the political realm. They were born out of the Democratic Party, and before that, a long history of people that you will see are completely and utterly aligned with the same people that got the African National Congress off the ground. And once you understand the people behind the money for these organizations, you will see very quickly that it is a fake opposition. But let's have a look at the entry-level criteria and then carry on to the 10 questions and see how the Democratic Alliance will do. So the first part is obviously to see if they are for individual liberty over collective good ideology. So it's any party or individual facing test criteria to ensure individual liberty over collective good ideology. And this is interesting because I think within the Democratic Alliance you will find many ways of thinking. As Jordan Neil Lewis put it, who's running for mayor in Cape Town now, that the DA is a broad church. He said this to me himself, and I believe that to be true. Now, this doesn't help us with the situation we find ourselves in the country. So it's difficult to answer this question directly. There's nothing in Democratic Alliance policy that says that they support the greater good. But it's very easy to see where individuals within the movement stand. And their past leader, Mmusi Maimane, has made many statements with regards to the greater good ideology, and especially subsequently. So has their premier in the Western Cape, Alan Winde, made many statements with regards to the greater good ideology. Especially in the Western Cape and in Cape Town, there's many things that's happened in the DA run Cape Town that is greater good ideology. So if you look at the movement as a whole, it is difficult to actually make a call on this. But if you look at how the movement has operated within the Cape Province alone, they fail the entry-level criteria. But I have to be fair here and say that I believe there's many people within the Democratic Alliance, probably wrongfully so, and they should probably move fast, but maybe they are earning salaries and it serves them well. They don't realize or understand this greater good ideology over individual liberty. So you might speak to individuals within the Democratic Alliance that absolutely believe in individual liberty and might be fighting for that within their organization. At what stage do you give up that fight and start with something better? But let's continue on to the 10 questions and see how the Democratic Alliance does. Remember, the African National Congress got 2 out of 10. So, question number 1, are you pro the current constitution? Well, with regards to the Democratic Alliance, it is difficult to see where the movement stands, but generally based on what they will say, they support the current constitution. They might question certain things in the constitution from time to time. They might question certain laws. However, it is very important to see that at the stage that they believe we have a good constitution. They have not questioned the things that we have, where the constitution or the government makes decisions for you with regards to your life or your possessions or anything like that, and take the responsibility upon themselves to protect your life instead of you protecting your life, to protect your property instead of you protecting your property. And I have had many people within the Democratic Alliance, Alderman J.P. Smith in Cape Town, a very good example, where he said that we will only talk about giving up the right to bear arms for self-defense once the crime in the country comes down under a DA government. And this makes it certain that the current constitution is still where they stand. And this is highly problematic. So this one hangs in the air. For the overall movement, they don't have specific statements, but their leadership definitely support the current constitution, and therefore I have to give them a fail. Number 2, does your plan strive towards irrelevance? The absolute opposite. So the Democratic Alliance wants more power, just like the African National Congress. They're like peas in a pod, and power's what it's all about. Helen Ziller famously wrote in a book that it is all about gaining power so that you can do things. And the Democratic Alliance believes that if they come into power in the current system, which I also believe in, that they will then be able to do a much better job than the current ruling party, although they have sabotaged themselves in this process over and over. So they don't believe in system change currently. They believe that the system should remain the same. And also another very good reason why they failed question number 1. So they failed question number 2 as well. Question number 1 and 2, they fail. Question number 3, do you align with Agenda 2030 Sustainable Development Goals or Agenda 21? The DA absolutely aligns with us, and many people in the organization might not understand what this means, because there are many good people in the organization that might be there for a salary or position or trying to serve the community as a counselor and actually believe that they're doing a good job, and they might be doing a sterling job. However, the system has brought us to where we are now, to where our freedoms have been removed, and that is something that these agendas do if you read between the lines and actually see what's being implemented. And the Democratic Alliance fully supports us. In fact, I think they're ahead of the ANC when it comes to that. So they failed question number 3, because these agendas remove freedoms of humans. 4, are you exclusive? No, the Democratic Alliance is not exclusive. They are definitely inclusive. They actually believe that they are one of the most inclusive parties. The ANC will argue with that, but their position in general is of being inclusive. I have experienced extreme racism within the Democratic Alliance. However, those are isolated incidences, I believe, and that the broader organization believes in inclusivity. So because they are also called the Democratic Alliance, they don't exclude anyone there. So they absolutely pass question number 4. Question number 5. Do you believe in sovereignty? Now, I think at this stage that the majority of people within the Democratic Alliance believe in sovereignty. There are some of the leaders, especially the people in the Brain Trust, that are doing things that will undermine sovereignty, especially if you see the alignment with Agenda 2030 and Agenda 21. But at this stage, I have to say that the organization as a whole do believe in sovereignty. I cannot say that they just want us to be part of a broader Africa. I do believe they would want us to be sovereign currently, but that might change in future. So at this stage, I would have to give them a pass on question number 5. So 2 passes so far on question number 4 and question number 5, which means that they would want a military that's strong enough to do what we need to do to keep our borders safe. However, on the global perspective, this is a problem, because that is not enough. And this is certainly something the DA will have to look at. Where do you stand if there is a push for a global government? What will you do? Will you go with that plan based on you failing question number 3? And these are questions that people within the DA need to ask themselves seriously. So, if you look at question number 5, I would have to pass them. So 4 and 5, they pass. 1, 2, and 3, they fail. So question number 6, do you have a savior figure? Now, within the Democratic Alliance, I don't ever think that they have had a savior figure. They're a fairly large organization that have not relied on one person. I think they have a fairly robust structure within which they can lose someone and then still remain standing. They're not just going to fold overnight. They might become completely irrelevant in future, but there's no savior figure that they depend on to do anything. So I would have to pass them on number 6. Certainly, if you look at the past leaders, you can't see any of those people being savior figures. They are way too pathetic for that. So, question number 7. So, passes on 4, 5, and 6. Question number 7, what is your position on CSE or Comprehensive Sexuality Education? I don't think that the DA has made a position clear on this, and by being quiet, they are actually supporting it. And a lot of their members, the reason why they're quiet is a lot of their members are against comprehensive sexuality education. So this is something that I think they want each person to decide for themselves, and they are just sitting back letting the ANC government implement this when they would have done exactly the same thing. They did ask some questions in Parliament around it, but they never attacked the proposition. So I will have to fail them on this. Because if you don't speak out against something like this, then you are tacitly supporting it. And this is unacceptable. And I want the members within the Democratic Alliance and people that support them to know that the DA has nothing to stop comprehensive sexuality education from happening in the schools. The other thing that they did was roll out the Transgender Act, the white paper within the Western Cape. They were the first to actually do this. So if you look at all of these movements around the world and where the United Nations is going, it's clear that the DA is at the forefront of rolling out these agendas, which are aligned with comprehensive sexuality education. So a complete and utter fail at that point. So at this stage, they have passed 4, 5, and 6 and failed all the rest. Question number 8. Do you mention color or race vocally and or in organizational documents? Absolutely, the DA fails this. I don't think they're as bad as many of the other organizations out there, but many of the leaders do use, especially Helen Zille, she's done this many times in the past, use color and race. And what this does is divide, and she has been hauled over the coals for this many times. Because of this, the DA has had many internal fights, many factions. I was there. I saw it with my own eyes. So I don't care about any DA leader telling me that there's no factions within the movement, because you cannot convince me otherwise when I saw it with my own eyes. So they fail when it comes to number 8. Now, they have no policy internally to not use color or race in how they describe things or anything like that. And they could certainly do better by making that commonplace. So, failure on 8. Number 9, do you make outlandish statements? I think there are many DA leaders as individuals that have made outlandish statements that wasn't seen as a broad agreement from the other people within the DA. So I cannot judge the organization and say that they generically make us outlandish statements. I think you have to blame that on individuals. The whole concept within the African National Congress before, where they said that we will rule until Jesus comes, was a broadly viewed idea within the movement, and this is why they failed that. But this is certainly not the case within the Democratic Alliance, and therefore they have to pass question number 9. So this is the 4th question that they pass at this stage. So 4 out of the 10 are passes. Question number 10, do you make promises? Absolutely. The DA makes promises all the time. And this has been a mainstay within the Democratic Alliance. I promise you, if you elect me, I promise you. It's almost like the person's trying to convince you by saying, I promise. So this is so common within the organization that has become part of the culture, and therefore they have to fail. Question number 10, promises are made all the time that they do not deliver on, because you cannot deliver within that political position any of the things that people make promises on. I promise I will deliver so many houses. I promise I will do this and that. It's absolute nonsense, and the DA fails that one dismally. So the DA gets a 4 out of 10, where the ANC got a 2 out of 10, so certainly an improvement there, but certainly not something that will guarantee your freedom at all. Thank you for watching this video. Please share this with your friends and family. Till the next video.